Welcome to Interruptions Podcast, where we have heartfelt and sacred discussions about our culture, faith traditions, and community. We invite guests who are open and willing to share their journey and disrupt the silence on their personal and professional interruptions that have impacted their lives as it relates to emotional wellness. My co host Kathy and I are passionate about every episode and are committed to providing actionable advice that you can apply today to reinvent yourselves and on your life journey and encourage you to develop a path towards healing. Welcome to Interruptions Podcast. I am your co host, Reverend O.
And I am your other co-host, Coach Kathy. Hi.
How are you?
This is different.
Yes, we are first time both of us are in the studio. Kathy's no longer in Boston. She's back in Shady, Connecticut. And we are here today continuing our parking lot series.
We are.
And our guest we have with us today is the famous Raphael Ramos. Raphael, welcome to Interruptions Podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Adele. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Kathy.
Hi.
Hi.
And Raphael, for those of you that do not know, he is the founder and president of Bregamos Community Theater in New Haven. And it is a awesome theater. And I met Raphael when we were looking at doing the interruption production.
Okay.
And I was first introduced to him in this beautiful studio and had to have him on the show. The pandemic is lightening up a little bit, the stage is starting to return, and we wanted to invite you to the show. So, Raphael, please tell us something about you. One, introduce our guest to you, please, and then tell us something about you that we can't find on LinkedIn or if we Google it.
Okay. So, you want me to introduce myself?
Yes.
So,
What?
my name is Raphael Ramos. I am born and raised in New York City. I've been in New Haven for 33 years now. I work at the City of New Haven. I am the Director of Environmental Health at the
Okay.
Health Department. But I'm also the president and founder of Bregamos Community Theater and Big Turtle Village Camp.
Okay.
Bregamos Community Theater has been around for about 22 years, and Big Turtle Village has been around about 22 years. They both sort of grew together. Big Turtle Village is a 5 day camping trip for children ages I'm sorry, ages 8 to 12. And
Okay.
it's an environmental camp where we teach concepts about the preservation of the natural environment.
And how long have you been doing that, you said?
22 years.
What made you start that?
Uh, the
Turtle,
Big Turtle Village.
Big Turtle Village.
Well, and it's interesting. So I was the president of Junta for
Junta.
For
Ah,
Progressive Action on Grand Avenue.
yeah.
Interestingly, I'm the president again as of January. But when I was the president of Junta back in 2000, I came to a meeting one day and there were kids waiting for their parents to pick them up outside, and they were coming from some amusement park. I can't even think of the name, but um, it cost them a lot of money to go to that amusement park. And I thought, why not take the same money and do something more meaningful that may last? Because kids are going to go to a carnival or something sometime during the summer with some family member, not their own parents, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a 5 day camping trip in the woods,
Oh.
they'll remember that forever. And so it's a free 5 day camping
Mm-hmm.
trip. There's a $10 suggested donation for
Yeah.
a T-shirt, but if they don't have it,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna give them a T-shirt anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it started. I thought we should do something more meaningful. So we first started out with 25 kids
Mm-hmm.
on a property owned by Tess Marcellus, who is the I guess ex-wife of Branford Marcellus, the jazz musician. And
Oh.
so she owned 100 acres up in East Haddam.
Yes.
And actually, so my family and I would go camping with her on her property.
Okay.
And one day around the campfire, she said, "Why don't you bring some children from New Haven?" And I said, "That's a great idea." And so Big Turtle Village was born. We named it Big Turtle Village because we know it was going to be a slow process.
That's what I was.
Then-
That was my next question. Where did Big Turtle come
Right,
from?
so
I love it. I love it.
in the Native American folk and everything, the turtle is slow but it's precise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Now, what's the ages of the kids again?
8 to 12,
Okay.
and we purposely advertise very late, so we leave late July,
Yeah.
and we'll start advertising it late June
Okay.
because we want those children whose parents don't know how to get resources or don't have resources, and these are kids didn't. These are children that didn't know or won't know that where they're
Mhm.
going to be this summer for five
That's
days
right.
in the woods.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right.
I love to get
So
mine
we used to
into that.
advertise early, but all the smart parents take it up real quick. 'Cause we used to advertise in January. By February, it was full,
Oh,
right?
that's
But
right.
that's not the target population we wanted.
And that's what you have to do. You have to be creative.
You have to think
So,
outside.
so first of all, I can hear the New York accent. So, okay, I get it.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was my cousin Freddie. I was crosstown.
So, Raphael, again, nice to meet you. This is my first time. I think it's my first time meeting you. So now you're saying junta, and I worked for the Department of Social Services years ago, and we were a contractor of junta. So we may have crossed paths.
DSS.
Yeah, DSS. So
Yeah.
we may have.
We lived off of DSS for a long time.
Yes, I
Yeah.
know. But you all were a phenomenal program, very creative, and so and much needed in the community. So I
Yes.
think we around 2000. I'm like, I think so. So we may have crossed paths
So,
before.
so we're doing it again this year, July
Okay.
25th through July 29th, and we are open to contributions. If anyone would like to
That's it.
send
That's
your
Throw it out there.
contribution to
Good for
Junta for
you.
Progressive Action, 169 Grand Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, 06513. Make sure to make the check out to Big Turtle Village and
That
not just
is
Junta.
funny. That is funny. Well, good for you. Good for you.
And we'll give you a chance to plug it in again in case someone
Okay.
comes on later and missed that shout out.
So, Raphael, let me ask you a question because I am not familiar with Bregamos. And so I don't know if you're familiar with the format of our podcast where we have been doing this now well over a year now. And we talk about interruptions in people's lives. And so some interruptions are good interruptions, and some are those that really can hinder a person's life journey. And so either one, good or bad, can hinder a person's journey. And so for you, what type of interruptions was Bregamos for you? Was it intended? Was it planned? Was it just like okay, here's an opportunity? So what was that interruption for you?
It was an interruption. I was at the School of Public Health at Southern Connecticut State University.
Okay.
Um, I was working in and taking classes, and we were challenged by a professor or an adjunct professor in an introduction to public health class
Yeah.
to think of some way to impact community health outside of the normal public health discipline, which is you identify a problem illness
Mhm.
and then you do the research and try to come up with strategies how to impact or reduce those incidents, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
We thought, um, why not the arts and why not theater? The arts are informational, therapeutic,
Mhm.
technical. It brings people together. Stuff we need in our community. For example, with uh, some young ladies in our community, it helps build self-esteem.
Yeah.
Self-esteem is important because lack of self-esteem leads to other things,
That's
we know.
right.
And so we thought, why not the arts, and in particular, why not theater?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so that's how Bregamos was born. So we started out using backyards, garages, basements. We once did a play at bar
Okay.
right downtown.
downtown.
Yeah.
And so, and just how you see how public health worked its way in. The first play that we did was called I Mama. I Mama was a comedy about cervical cancer. Now we know
Hmm.
there's nothing funny
Right.
about cervical cancer,
Yeah.
but in this play, you were entertained, but you also learned um, awareness and prevention of cervical cancer while you laughed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
So
great.
it's one way where theater can be used to impact people
Okay.
in their lives.
I
And
love it.
Of course, and many other ways, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah. So when did you decide to get the building to be stationary in one place?
oh, so we don't. Well, like for the public to know that we don't own the building. We're tenants, but we've been there
But
since.
again, if you'd like to send contributions,
Again, we can talk about that later. Yeah,
Contributions.
but we've been there since 2014. It's the space nobody wanted. It's New Haven's best kept secret because it's hard to find.
hmm
Hey,
It
so
is.
it's on Blatchley Avenue. It's in a building called Erector Square,
Yes.
which is mostly all artists
Yeah.
and engineers and architects and photographers.
Yep.
And there are two theaters in there. There's Bregamos Community Theater, and then
Mhm.
there's Collective Consciousness Inc., another fantastic theater in New Haven.
Okay.
And
So
I've driven by that many
I
times
have.
and
Yeah.
could not find it. And he was like, "See the driveway?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Turn left."
yeah, and so, but it's a place nobody wanted, and I can't keep people out of there. I remember once taking our first president, Bregamos president, there, and saying, this is where we're going to do it. And the person was like, "No, you're going to get sued. People won't come. Nobody will use it. But you build it, and they'll come." And I can't keep people out of there.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful. Good for you.
yeah.
So, Raphael, since you've opened the studio, the theater, think back of some of the best shows that you have had in there. Some of your, in your opinion, best shows.
Mama's Boys.
Okay.
Tell us
So
about.
okay, so Mama's Boys was written by Candido Torado, a New York City writer, Puerto Rican. Mama's Boys has three characters:
Mm-hmm.
Mimic, Shine, and
Mm,
Thug. They're best friends. They're very young. They live in the South Bronx of New
Mm-hmm.
York City. They are contemplating on going to the movies, but they don't want to ask their parents or their single moms for money to go to the movies. So um, Thug comes up with an idea. My cousin has a spot. We can go to the spot, clock, get money to go to the movies. But oh, first of all, let me just explain to you a little bit about these characters. So Shine wants to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Mimic wants to be an actor, hence his name is Mimic, right? And Thug doesn't know what he wants to do, but they're best friends. So Shine comes up with the idea they're going to go to their cousin's spot to clock, so they called it. Mimic inherited from his mother intuition. So whenever the sun covered the clouds and he threw his shoulder out, meant something was going to happen. Right?
okay.
And so, and so, just so happens that the play starts where the story ends. The story starts in a funeral parlor.
Oh,
Okay.
Shine is dead.
Okay.
Guess who killed Shine?
Yeah.
Thug.
Mm-hmm.
Mimic sneaks in to sort of say farewell to his best friend Shine, and he starts to sort of narrate the play backwards to the beginning.
Okay.
okay.
So they did go to clock, and Shine was shining too much, and Thug got jealous, and this is what happened. But fast forward to the end, nothing ever
Oh.
really happened because when they were going to go get in the cab, the sun covered the clouds covered the sun. Mimic threw his shoulder out, so Mimic and Shine
Mm-hmm.
never got in the car. It's led to be to your imagination where the Thug got in the car now.
Oh,
But
That's
it's what could
wonderful.
have happened had you
if he
taken that road.
Okay.
Great. So it's called
So,
Mama's Boy. That was I
yeah.
think that was the favorite,
Your
and the reason
favorite?
I say that because we mixed. So we had in the play we had some one kid who actually lived the life with a
Mm.
Yaley who was also one of the
Okay. Okay.
a Yaley played Mimic, a young Puerto Rican boy, and then and Thug became who the fellow who played Thug became a teacher. So
Okay.
and I now teaches. But it was bringing these three people together that would never mix unless it was theater. They would
Nice.
never met each other
Had
unless it were not for this play.
okay. Now that's
Yeah, that's great.
and one show that you wish you had never said yes, you can have your show in my theater.
Your show was great.
Was there
Uh,
one that you like, or you said no to because you didn't want that type of production in your theater?
No, we don't turn down anybody
Okay.
at Bregamos. Let me tell you what Bregamos means first. So, Bregamos in Spain is Bregamos.
Yes.
In Spain, it means to work hard every day, to slave over. In this side of the Atlantic, right, and particularly Latin America, Afro Latin America, Bregamos means to make it happen, to make a deal by hook or by crook, by any means necessary, consider it done. It means all those things
Mm-hmm.
depending how you're using the word.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
so, say you're a car mechanic and I'm a painter, you can't afford my services,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
I need my car fixed, so we're barter. So maybe
Okay.
I'll paint, you'll fix my car, Bregamos, we'll make it happen. We both get
Bergamos
what
will
we
make it
need and move
happen.
on. So that is basically our philosophy. We don't turn anybody down. We don't have a lot of resources, but we're community, right? So we don't
Yeah.
own anything. No one owns any. We're just a custodian. And when people give us money, they're giving money to a community theater, not to Bregamos because this that is because it's a community theater and we share our theater with other people with other folks.
Okay. All right. Well, then that kind of leads to my next question for Odell. So, how did you find Bregamos for your production?
Oh, um, I'm not in the theater.
No,
Not a
right.
listen. This is all new to me,
Right.
and I know theater places. So when we were on the verge of trying to craft interruptions, it was where you're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And people kept saying to me, you want to find a small place because we had a very small budget and it was shrinking
Right.
as time went on. And people kept saying, well, what kind of feel are you looking for? And I wanted someplace in a community. So I was always advised, you want to go someplace small. So if you pack a small place, then they could say the house was packed. But if you go to a large theater and you
Uh-huh.
don't pack it, folks will come out and say, she didn't have a full house. So it was
Mm-hmm.
always, let's go to a community place.
Right.
You mentioned Conscious Theater, and someone said they're going to be too small. And Bregamos kept coming up, kept coming up. And I went online and I don't know Raphael, so I'm trying to do the professional thing. I'm trying to email him, and he's not responding by email. And I later learned that's not how you reach him. You got to text him or call him. And Charisse and Alita kept saying, you want to go to Bregamos.
Okay.
Charisse is an artist. She used to live here in New Haven. She used to work at Clifford Beers. She's wrote many of plays, had them at Bregamos, and knew Raphael very well. She says that's where you want to go because one, you don't know what you're doing, and he won't take advantage of you.
Right.
So you want to go there. She met with me, went over my budget, talked about too many people in the cast. This is all you're going to need. And she said, Bregamos. And I said, I can't reach Raphael. She picked up the phone. She called him on a Sunday. He picked up. He said, absolutely to the date. And I was scheduled to meet with him that week. And it was perfect. He forgot to tell you that the place has ample parking. So you can't find
Okay.
it. but it has ample
You said you
parking.
can't find it, but when you do, there's a
When you
place to
do,
park.
yeah.
It's ample parking, and the place just felt perfect. It was what we were looking for because, Interruptions is a New Haven story.
Yeah.
It's a community story. So we met, we discussed it, we talked about building a stage, how
Mhm.
many people. We didn't know a lot of the information at the time that we met, and he was giving me ideas. Don't forget this. We have somebody that can build your set, so don't worry about that. We need the script. The script was still under development, and then we was just kept talking. He knew that I was still fundraising, and then one of the things that he did, Raphael did, is he listened to the story. He said, "Tell me about the story,"
Okay.
and I told him about the story, and he started to cry.
Mm.
And he says, "I feel you, I understand." And he told me about his son. And he said, "Because your production is about gun violence and you're trying to make a change," he says, "I'm going to give you a discount." And it's unheard of. Who does that?
Mhm.
And he did. And he helped me, guided me along the way, told me the ins and out, what to do, what not to do, what to be careful of. And then when the pandemic hit, it all went away anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
what is so back up a little bit. So you said so he told me about his son. So what about your son?
Okay. So to me, the acquaintance was divine intervention, if you ask me. I did also suffer a trauma,
Okay.
loss of a son, like Odell lost a son, and so when we were talking, I just I felt everything, and I knew that for her it was also therapeutic. Got to
Yeah.
get this story out, so that you can move on, so that we can move on. So, my son, Satchel, who would have been 20, was killed in March 4th, 2014.
Mm.
Him and his brother were my oldest son, Clyde, were in Providence, Rhode Island, and they intervened in a fight, what looked like a fight, a
Mhm.
mugging, and they both got stabbed, but the younger one, Satchel, died.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
so that's forever, as you know.
Forever. And I
Yeah,
didn't
and
know his story, he didn't know mine. And we're sitting there and we're sharing each other's pain and we're comforting each other. And then we're just talking.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful first time meet
Yeah.
and great conversation.
That's awesome, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said the pandemic hit and then, right? So Raphael, for you, have you ever experienced anything like this pandemic that would just put everything on hold, theater, everything?
yeah, I it was bad things about the pandemic, but good things too, right?
Oh
We
yeah.
we all took time out,
Yeah.
right? We took time out, time to because we were running around a lot, not even thinking about ourselves,
Right.
right? What time we go to sleep, what we eat,
Right, right,
right? So the
right,
hustle
right.
slowed up, so we slowed up, and it's good. I mean, lots of conversations, right, on the phone, family,
Which is good.
FaceTiming, and which is good. So,
Yeah.
and then for for some people that was great. For others, it was depressing, right? Not to be able to do your 9 to 5
Yeah.
or your social life.
But
So
I guess I'm thinking in terms of someone like you that was in the arts, even though you do work for the city of New Haven, but Bregamos is part of the arts and the theater, and so even how did you deal with the closure of the arts and theater, and then even to see never before would we have ever thought we would see Broadway closed down? How do you
right,
even
right.
close down Broadway? Like you just say no, don't come, and so but there's a group of people that obviously suffered from that closure, as many people did. But how did you deal with the closure
Well,
of the
Bregamos
theater?
didn't close. Well,
Okay, okay,
maybe we didn't have shows,
okay.
but we partnered with with a group called Semillas Colectiva, which means collective seeds, and we fed people Bregamos became a food distribution place where so they come in, they set up outside. The people will come in because the parking lot is so big and
Mm-hmm.
do
Yes.
a turnaround and pick up their food and keep going. And they would load the food. So they were storing food inside Bregamos. So we never really closed down. And then, of course, we always had some artwork going. So the art we always did the
Yeah.
art. We did work on the theater where we during that time. So we really never closed. We could stop shows, but it was still being used for different kind of functions.
So how did you get into that distributing the food for during COVID? So how did that
A
happen?
group called me. They
Okay.
knew of the theater. They knew of the spot, and they are in sort of an advocacy group for immigrants.
Okay.
So they've used the spot a lot. So they
Mm-hmm.
knew that we had the spot, and so they asked us, and we said sure.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. No,
Yeah,
you did not close.
no,
No.
no, no, no.
About how many people do you think came? How many families came through a day?
Thousands. Now maybe not a day, but I know
With,
over the time period, thousands
Yeah.
of families came through.
Yeah.
They were there like 3 days a week, for like 4 weeks.
Right.
mm,
Okay.
It's really great.
So you did food distribution, and what other activities did you do during?
Oh, people still came in and had their play readings,
Okay.
had play workshops,
Okay.
but they wore a mask, social distance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We were getting ready. Well, March 2020,
Mm-hmm.
we were getting ready to do a play called My Libya
oh,
in reference
I
to
remember.
William Langston,
Okay.
who was an engineer in 1860 something in New Haven, and he's a black man who built the
Mm-hmm.
Long Wharf.
Okay.
He was an engineer, and the abolitionists back then had this idea. Oh, by the way, this is written by Alan Appel, who writes for
Mm-hmm.
the New Haven Independent. Um, so the abolitionists back then had this idea. Well, we're going to free the black men and send them back to Libya.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no. Mr. Langston said, no, I don't know anything about Libya. I'm going to build my hotel right here, and I'm going to call it my Libya. But fate has it that he was framed for stealing a coat,
Mm.
and I guess and lost his hotel. But
Mm.
it's a true story, and we're still going to do it. We're trying to sort
Good.
of
Good.
re-excite everybody. That's where we were when the
Yeah.
pandemic shut down. So we're trying to get back to this. An important place, an important story to say. And it
Good.
was
It
right,
does.
and his hotel would have been right here at Worcester Square on Olive Street, right where
Yeah.
the fires
Fire station
fire
is
station. No, not the fire station, but the
the old
the tire company. What's a fire?
Mm.
Pirelli.
No,
Oh,
Firestone.
fire.
Firestone.
Okay, I'm all
Okay.
messed up then. Okay,
Yeah,
No, because I think there was
I'm
like a
thinking like
sign or something over there about Pirelli, but he's right about Firestone.
yeah,
Yeah.
Firestone. That's
Yeah.
where his hotel would have been.
Isn't that
wasn't
something?
the Comcast there at one point?
Right down the
Around the
street.
corner.
Around the
Okay,
Yeah.
corner.
Down
around the
the
Yeah,
corner.
street. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
memory's
Yeah.
coming
So
back a little
we
bit.
want to, yeah, we want to get back to that and others. We have other stuff that we have on hold.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
No, I tell you, he's awesome. When we had to shift from the stage to do video recording,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to do that either. And between Kevin, he said, you got to find Kevin. He said, call Kevin, he'll help you out. And connected with Kevin, who's doing
Yeah.
our podcast. That's how I was introduced to Kevin. And it's like, well, how do we do this? And I'm out interviewing, talking about the show. And I'm saying, well, we're not going to be on stage any longer. We're going to be online.
Hmm.
And folks said, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know yet.
It sounded great at the time, though,
I had to
right?
learn how to
Yeah.
do everything. And so we're in the studio now because we did most of our recording in Zoom.
Okay.
Reverend Anderson did most of the interviews. Everything was in Zoom, all the cast interviews and most of the recording. And then we had 2 weeks that we had to come into the studio to record
Okay.
so that we didn't have a lot of human contact during COVID.
Yeah.
And Raphael became one of the voices in the production. He's like, no, I don't want to have anything to do. And then we're like, no, we need a voice to pray.
Yeah.
And remember, you sat down and you started praying, and we started recording voices. So we had three people, two Yale students, and two Yale students from the drama school,
Yeah.
of School of Drama,
Mm-hmm.
and one from the community who's supposed to play me.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, she had an incident in her family, and she had to go to a funeral. So the travel restrictions were, if you left the state,
Yeah.
you could not return for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You had to be quarantined, and we could not hold the production up any longer.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
we
I remember
had
that.
right, and we had a $30,000 new light system
Oh.
that we didn't know how to use.
Oh, that's
and,
funny.
And you found that
My nephew.
Yeah, your nephew
My
came and he
nephew.
showed us how to use the board. It was
Yeah,
brand
my
new,
nephew.
state of the art board. Yeah.
Dwayne Thomas, he did lighting in Broadway. He worked
Okay.
for a company in New York, so he was doing lighting on Broadway for years. So I said, Dwayne, we need you. He was like, okay, Auntie, I'm there. And he came, he looked at the system, and he knew exactly where the lights needed to be placed. He knew how to use it, knew how to use the sound system, because
Isn't that something?
he had everything brand new in the box.
Everything was just brand new.
And it was still sitting in the box?
No, well,
Oh.
some of it was in the box, but we were just putting everything together.
Right.
And so Adele's play made us just get it all together. So we know how to use it now. We know how to use our sound system now. So we have state of the art everything. So.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is too funny. That's funny. So Raphael, again, when we talk about the production, tell me really what hit you about this particular production. You were part of it. She asked you to be part of it, and you kind of were like, I'm not really sure. What would make you not want to be sure about being part of it?
No, I think the production was an important one, and like I said, because of the experience that I kind of share with Odell, maybe it happened in different ways, and
Yes.
but it was an interruption in our lives.
Yes, it was.
And something I like to talk about, because I know that you're going to ask the question what you can't find, you can't Google about. But what you can, and I think this is important, and it's also part of my therapy. I like to talk about these things.
Good.
And one is that the gentleman or the young fella who killed my son, I forgave in court.
Okay.
Okay. And I did it selfishly, and I wasn't thinking of, I wasn't speaking on behalf of my family. I was speaking on my behalf. That there was nothing that I could do that would bring my son back. So hating and wishing him might just revert itself on me.
On you. Yeah.
That negative energy, right? This is something they tried to beat out of us a long time ago. We know about this thing, right? And so
That's right.
You don't, so I didn't want to carry that. And so when week or two after it happened, and I was online just looking for some inspiration or something, and I came across this story, right? And it was about revenge. And I thought, oh, it's interesting. Let me read that, right? Because those things are still kind of in my mind. I'm a human, right? Angry and everything.
That's right.
So it was about a Native American grandfather and his grandson are walking through the woods, and they see two wolves. And the grandson says to the grandfather, Grandpa, you see those two wolves? And the grandfather says, yes. He goes, in a fight, which one would win? The grandfather said, well, we all got a little wolves in us. There's the good wolf, giant, kind, gentle, patient, generous. And then there's the bad wolf, revengeful, jealous, greedy. But Grandpa, which one would win? The grandfather looked at the boy and said, the one you feed.
Right. Yeah. That's
that
beautiful.
pierced my head.
Yeah.
It went right through my head like,
That's right.
yes. I wasn't going to feed that wolf.
Yeah.
That's not the wolf I wanted to feed. And that was selfishness and for my own preservation,
Right.
right?
And you
Yeah.
told me that story.
That's
that day.
beautiful.
It's the
Yeah,
one you feed.
Yeah.
it's the
That's
one you
beautiful.
feed. And so in court, I told the judge says that I'm a better man than he was, but
Yeah.
what the judge didn't know is I'm taking care of Raphael,
That's right.
you
That's
know.
exactly
And
right.
I said it, and there was some family members of mine that said, I'm not speaking for my family, I'm speaking for me.
That's right.
I forgive you, and I hope that if you ever get to walk the streets again,
Yeah.
that you do right by people.
Amen.
And remember the forgiveness, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and thank you for that story again. So our last guest, we had Dr. Creative, which is Malachi Eason. You know Malachi.
Okay,
He's the program director for the International Arts and Ideas.
okay,
And he was on talking about some of his challenges in terms of bringing artists back to the stage in entertainment. He said, people miss feeling the music.
Yeah.
He said, you can't hear the beat of the music in Zoom. People just need to feel it. He said, and artists are just, they want to come back. So he talked about his challenges in bringing entertainment back to the green and back to New Haven and how different it has to be. But that's what he's trying to do. So for you, what are your plans for Bregamos?
Well, my plan, I can't wait till people sort of for the dust to settle from this pandemic because well, right now we're looking for a director to direct My Libya, this story about William Lanson, right? But we prefer for it to be a black director.
Okay.
And so, but we're waiting to see who comes
Through
up. So people,
services, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so people are still kind of like, not in sync with what's going on yet after this pandemic. So we just have to
Okay.
wait and see the
I-
people that come back
that's
out.
really key, right? I think people have to get used to us
Yeah.
starting to come out of the pandemic. I agree with you. I
Mhm.
know I started. Some friends of mine have started going back to productions on Broadway, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and not that I was ever a person that frequented Broadway. I think it was just the idea of Broadway that we know it's there and that it's open and that people can go and have a good time and see productions. But I did start getting nervous for them when I started seeing them come out and going and just thinking of the crowds. And so, because the pandemic for me is just not out of my head yet.
Right, right.
I'm nowhere near where I was a couple of years ago. But I do think I have to get used to, okay, can we go back out and feel that level of safety? And what do you do when you're around crowds? And so yeah, that's really key. But
Yeah.
but even to, I think too that, because I can think you kind of talked about this at the beginning, that there's a lot of things that came out of the pandemic,
Yeah,
right?
good things.
So
Yeah.
right, there's good things, but then there's also things that how people feel
Mhm.
about their abilities to be able to do something. So just finding that person to say, I think it would be great to be the director of this production. So how are you going to find this person? What does that look like? Like, what's that search look like? How do you talk about it? Is there like
Well, we do have
an
some local.
Indeed for for directors?
We do have some local people
Okay.
that are very busy. So we're hoping that some of them will free themselves up. But it, oh, I'm sorry. I thought
That's okay.
I was like, hey, we got piped in
I
music.
thought I know. I was like, oh,
That's pretty
So,
cool.
so we'll just keep putting the word out.
Yeah.
We want somebody close. We don't want to have people to travel. I think we have qualified people right here in New Haven
Yeah.
that they just got to free themselves up and take
Yeah.
interest in this play.
Yeah. That's great.
And I would still love to have interruptions on stage. And now that we know it's just a 3-cast person,
Right.
and to have it rewritten a little bit, and just to have it on stage because it's never been on stage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people coming, but they're like, well, we read the book, we've seen it online. Why would we pay to come see it? So I'm not really sure how that works.
Right. But so the whole process of reading the play with short, with small audiences, I think is very valuable.
Okay.
The audience will give you back feedback, and you tweak things, and sometimes other people can see things that we don't.
Mm.
When we're trying to put a message across, how are we gonna deliver this message? Sometimes, somebody else will come up and say, "Hey, why don't you try?" And you'll be like, that's it. So that's why that whole reading process and
Yes.
development process of a play is so important.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll make that note for future reference.
And Raphael, it's funny. We're so during the pandemic, this is really the first time that we're in the studio. So this is Odell. This is her second time,
Yes.
and this is for me my first time. So kind of getting used to the mics. Just a reminder. Just if you can stay talking in the mic, we'd appreciate
Oh, okay.
it.
No, no,
Because we
great.
are having conversation. We
I'm
want
having
it.
a good
I
time.
know
I
we
feel
get
very
relaxed. I
comfortable.
know that's
I feel very
exactly
comfortable,
right. And
very relaxed,
yes,
and
that's
so-
exactly right. We get very comfortable. I even want to sit like,
Yeah,
you
just
know,
back here, and I gotta remember I gotta sit up a little bit.
right.
So,
So, just
Okay.
it's engaging, but it's awesome.
and I'm glad. Now, Raphael, you talked about your full-time job. What is your title? What do you do, sir?
Okay. So okay. So for 26 years, I worked at an agency in New Haven called LCI, Livable City Initiative,
Yeah.
and I was the since 2000, I was the deputy director of housing code enforcement.
Okay. Yeah.
24-hour job, mind you.
Yeah, I bet.
And but this past October, I became the director of environmental health programs at the health department. So I am in charge of food service, that is restaurants, inspection, sanitarians who inspect
Oh,
restaurants, lead poisoning prevention program with
okay.
children. That's the biggest,
Yeah.
I'm
my
sure.
biggest agenda right now is lead poisoning. And nuisance complaints, whether it's air pollution or water quality, beach water quality,
Mm-hmm.
swimming pools, daycares. Um,
Yeah.
I have a wonderful staff at the health department that
Okay.
I supervise.
So before Odell and I go out to dinner next time, we're gonna give you a call and just say, if you could just let us know what the rating is on this.
You know where to go, where not to go.
Yeah.
We were thinking about going here. We need to know what the rating is.
I would say 99% of all New Haven restaurants are good.
Now, Raphael, I noticed New Haven has. Oh no, is it Hamden? Hamden has inspections approval A, B, C.
A
but
grading system.
grading system.
Mhm.
New Haven does not have that
Yet.
yet.
Oh,
Okay, only in Hamden.
why do I in my head? Why do I think I see those signs?
Only in
But,
Hamden.
but
Oh
if
my
you're but
goodness.
if they're open, if they're open,
Okay.
they're at least to be, right?
Okay.
Because you have to have an 80 to
To
stay
stay
open.
open. Okay.
Okay, there's no 70s. If you go under 80, you have to close. So if they're open, they're at least to be.
I never paid attention to that.
Yeah. Now, I remember a couple of weeks ago there was a shutdown of a lot of local um, stores, corner stores.
Yes.
What
Yes.
happened?
Well,
Or
okay.
are you able to tell us?
Well, yes. Well, we the city as a whole was doing what they do, these neighborhood sort of sweeps, and then many stores provide for a nuisance nexus, something you know well about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Businesses that are related in some way to crime and other problems.
Yep.
So basically, that was what it was all about. So they
Mm.
inspected, and not many stores got closed down. The ones that did were for food violations for the most part, not for anything else.
That's a great collaboration then between you and community service.
Yeah,
Yeah. We
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
I think that should be more widely broadcasted so people feel safe.
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
a job that you're doing. That's wonderful. Good for you.
How challenging was it to do inspections during the pandemic?
Um, well, during the pandemic, I was still at LCI
Okay.
and we were still doing our inspections. Um, we were still going to homes, and then, you know, if they didn't want us in the house, then we have to FaceTime and show me.
Mm.
You know, we
Hmm.
did less routine inspections, but
They could,
complaints you have to do by law.
Mm-hmm.
so they could refuse to let you in the house?
Yes. Yes. Everyone has a right to privacy, and you cannot break anybody's door down, for if they don't want to, if a person doesn't want to let you in their house, they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's no way you can get in unless you see smoke coming out from under the door, or you know what I mean.
Then you might.
Yeah, that's a different story, right? But just on basic complaints, if the person says no, it's no. So, but because of the pandemic, we thought,
Mhm.
well, okay, so we started using our devices, right? We kept one clean for them in
Mm-hmm.
a plastic bag, and we'll give it to them and say, show us your problem, show me the problem, so we can
Mm-hmm.
see it on the video. You don't have to go in.
Yeah. Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So you are obviously a man that wears many, many hats. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
one of the things that we always ask our guests is how do you practice self-care? So just a minute ago, I was like, we want to get relaxed and we want to sit back in our chair and we just, but how do you practice self-care and when do you practice
Well,
self-care?
I listen to my family and my friends when they tell me you got to shut down.
Okay.
It's
All
time,
right.
So they'll always say it's time. Shut down. Take a week, do something, but
Okay.
just stop.
And when do you say it to yourself? That's more
Say,
important.
say again.
How do you say it to yourself? When
Oh,
do you say it to yourself?
your body will tell you.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
Yeah.
body and your brain will tell you it's time, and you have to listen to it.
And
Right?
and what do you do? What do you do for
I
self-care?
I I like bike riding.
Okay.
I like bicycle, and I don't have a fancy bike. I got a 3 speed. I have a 3 speed bike with leather seats and leather handles, right? Straight up bike. But I like to go to New York City,
Mhm.
and I like to go to the Lower East Side, go over the Manhattan Bridge, go
Mhm.
down into Brooklyn, go through Brooklyn, and come back over the Williamsburg Bridge. Those
Nice.
kind of things. And and there's festivals happening in the street, and every neighborhood is different, right?
Mm.
Different folks, So I love that. I love doing that. That's my best time.
Oh,
To
that's
get on my
wonderful.
bicycle and just go.
That's wonderful.
That to me is therapeutic.
There you go. And I
Right.
called you to be on this podcast. You was at a festival. You was like, I can't hear you. I'm at a festival. I said, I'll text you. So you was
So I
somewhere.
was at on the Lower East Side has this
Okay.
Loisada festival,
Okay.
and I go there. Yeah, I drum. I,
Mhm.
I play congas, and so we have a sort of a space called Adela's Restaurant on Avenue C,
Okay.
and everybody brings their drum to the front of that restaurant,
Oh,
and we have what we call a rumba.
that's
Yeah, yeah, it's
awesome.
very, yeah.
That is awesome. So, if we said to you, tell us or share with our audience what you would want them to know about Bregamos, what would you share?
That Bregamos, the mission of Bregamos is to bring people together
Mm.
and to provide a space where people can tell their stories and to bring people together. And um, it isn't always about the cash and carry. I fight with my supporters, board members, everybody all the time because I believe that we don't own it. We're just the custodians, right?
Mm.
And as long as there's no liability, there's no reason for us to turn anybody down,
Mm.
right? And A may not have any money today to do it, right? But they still got to get their stuff off, and we have the space, and why not? Everything we have is donated to us,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Didn't come out of our pockets. Maybe yeah, we sacrifice time,
Mhm. Mhm.
commitment, but folks give us money because we say we are a community theater. And
Right.
that's what I want people to know about Bregamos. Don't be afraid to ask. Now, there are some things we can't do, right? We're not a club.
Right.
We're not a nightclub. So don't ask us.
Yeah.
There
So,
you go.
because that's not what we do. That's not,
Right.
and yeah, there's occasional parties in good taste and, but we're not a club. So
Right.
that's not what we do. We want to provide a space where people could be creative and tell their stories.
And share with us again how people can help you.
Bregamos.
Yes.
Oh, people can donate.
Yep. Tell them
And
again so they can hear
yeah,
it.
no. So yeah, people can donate. You can donate right on our webpage.
Okay.
People can donate, but people can also bring us ideas, stories, bring us a show, bring us an event.
Okay.
And we want that. We want
Yeah.
people to come and bring us things and not be afraid to ask. And it's not always about the cash and carry.
Right.
It's not always about that.
Yeah. That's
Although
great.
it's money's nice to have,
Yeah.
and we could probably get more things, but it's not
Well,
the
you have a $30,000 light system that now works,
right.
right? So
Well, yeah, and and kudos to a state representative that helped us get that.
Yeah.
Juan Candelari was very instrumental in us getting that equipment so that we can continue functioning and
long
providing
time
the
ago then.
service to the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So and
Well,
we have other things coming. I mean, this so we're gonna get into so we're buying a portable stage and we're getting an event tent,
okay.
right? So we're trying now to figure out the best portable sound and light equipment that we can use so that the young people can become, say, a production crew, right?
Okay.
So then, okay, so there's an event cross town, they need a production crew. We'll try to make it affordable and try to make it happen, right? In the meantime, they're learning things
That's right.
about production, what grips and stuff. So people forget that in the entertainment business, whether it's theater, TV, talent is only 10%,
That's
maybe.
right. Yeah.
The rest is technical. The rest of the folks making a living and living off it, right? It's
Mhm.
all technical, right? Light, sound, marketing, costumes, hair, makeup,
Yeah.
set design, lighting design,
That's right.
sound.
That's right.
And then New Haven has always been a test place for theater. There's an old movie called All About Eve,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where
Mm-hmm.
they come to New Haven because the play is being tested in New Haven, because New Haven sits between these two major theater hubs, right?
Yes.
Boston and New York.
That's right.
And
That's
if it
right.
made it here, it would make it in New York and make it in Boston.
That's right.
It's still true today.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, Raphael, it was so great meeting you, and thank you again. Thank you, Odell, for inviting Raphael. This is wonderful to have
Thank
you
you for
on.
having me. I got great energy from you today. And so I'm very relaxed. I can stay. I don't want to go. Are you throwing me out now?
No, never, never, never. And you're always welcome to come back. But for our audience to know that just like Bregamos, it was an interruption, but it was a good interruption, and one that you used for the betterment of the community and for yourself as well. Because I can see the light in you when you talk about it. Even when you just say the name, your eyes light up. And so that's wonderful for people to know. And part of what we share in our podcast is with our audience that an interruption doesn't have to be something that just stops your journey in life. It is just that. It is an interruption. It can alter where we go in our life, but we hope that people use our podcast to hear the messages that our guests share, and that they don't get stuck where they are, but to use it to reinvent themselves and to start a different journey to help themselves as well as others around them. So again, Raphael, thank you, and thank you, Odell, for
you.
inviting him on.
Well, thank you for having me, and please invite me back so we can talk about some public health messages.
That I would
Hey,
love
put it on
that.
your list.
Particularly lead and lead poisoning.
I would love
to
that.
come back and talk about that.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be wonderful.
Okay. Thank you. And please remember to click on subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and please like us so that you can hear all these great, wonderful podcasts we have going on this summer. Raphael, thank you again.
Thank you, Odell.
All right.
Thank you, Ken.